Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today I've got some more tournament games for you. But it's a very special weekend, ladies and gentlemen. This was the weekend when the new Pokémon trading card game set BREAKPoint was legal for the very first time. So I got myself down to Mad for Miniatures in St Austell in the most beautiful part of the UK, that being Cornwall, and I recorded a whole bunch of games from a city championship. The format here is X and Y to BREAKPoint. It is standard format, but BREAKPoint is now legal. We are playing best of 3. We are playing 50 minutes, and I've made sure to get some decks in here that are using cards from the new set so we can see how good they are and we can start making an assessment of how much of an impact they're going to make. Huge thank you to Vinnie Gardner and all at Mad for Miniatures for allowing me to record and making it very simple. So sit back, grab yourselves a nice beverage, and enjoy this game from the first weekend when BREAKPoint was legal. 50 minutes, best of 3, X and Y to BREAKPoint. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're here in round 7, I say 7, I mean 5. This is a win and in round. We got Ryan on the left. He is going to be playing Mega Mewtwo, not unlike we saw Tom playing in round 4. And on the right, we have got Susie Masters. We saw her in the first round, and we're going to see her Mega Manectric and Psychic Stuff deck. Now, a quick apology from me first of all, as we see Tom go first and pop a DCE on his Mewtwo, which could be a mistake. We know a lot of people in these Manectric decks play cards like Enhanced Hammer that can discard that DCE. Now, first thing you might notice, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little bit croaky today. Lost my voice a little bit. I'm a little croaky. I didn't record a video yesterday. I am recording one today. So, yes, I am a little bit croaky, but it's either that or you wait another couple of days without videos. I know I do kind of try and trade on my voice a little bit. It's still audible. I know it's not the usual silky smoothness you're expecting, but I hope we can be okay. Now, the other thing is that the video quality is also a little bit diminished on this video, but please don't stop watching. I assure you it is more than good enough to enjoy the game. Quite simply, I was running out of memory card storage as I hit the camera there. I was running out of memory card storage for this particular game, for this particular tournament, I should say. So what I actually did was I knocked the quality down just for this one video so that I would have enough to record. But I'm going to let you know what's going on. It's easily good enough. We can see everything. It's going to be okay. So we saw Tom there. He played a Shaman and drew a bunch of cards, and then he played a Sycamore, discarding his entire hand and drawing 7. He then played a Town Map to turn his prizes the right way up, and we can see that he's got a Floatstone, a Shrine of Memories, a Hooper, a Mega Mewtwo, a VS Seeker, and a Shaman. Now that is very bad, ladies and gentlemen, because these Mega Mewtwo decks love Hooper, but they tend to only play the 1. And what you try and do is turn 1, you Ultra Ball for Hooper, and you use Hooper's ability to go ahead and drag 3 EXs out of your deck and into your hand, but then to put onto your bench. So you would Tom would probably grab a second Mewtwo, a Shaman, and a Mega Mewtwo ready for next turn. That is not possible, however, given that the Hooper is in the prizes, and I know some people have started playing 2 just because it's so important and because there is a chance it will be prized, but most don't. Now, we also see the Battle Compressor coming down from Tom here. He gets rid of a couple of energy so that he can use Mega Turbo to attach them to a Mega Evolved Pokemon using an item card. And he also gets rid of a Pokemon Center Lady so that he can recover that with a VS Seeker and use it later. And that's quite important, because Manectric's going to do 120 and Mega Manectric's going to do 110, both of whom will get a quite easy 2-hit KO on Mega Mewtwo. Whereas if Manectric hits for 120, Tom heals down to 60, then another 120 will do 180 total and not get the KO. Same thing with Mega Manectric. And we would be expecting less use of Muscle Band in Susie's deck, because she is playing the Mega. She's going to be using Spirit Link so that she can Mega Evolve without ending her turn. So we would expect less of a 142 turns in a row, which would get the KO, because 140 plus the Pokemon Center lady would then bring it down to 80, and then another 140 would then get 220 and the KO. But less of an issue, ladies and gentlemen, given, like I said, that Susie is likely to be playing Muscle Band over the Spirit Link. Now, Susie, as if mocking Ryan, has gone and got her Hooper out. So she's gone her Hooper. She's then used the ability to grab 3 EXs from the deck, and it looks like she's grabbed a Shaman and a couple of Manectrics. Remember, Susie, remember from round 1, and if you haven't seen round 1, I heartily encourage you to go back and have a gander. Susie is playing a Mega Manectric deck, but she is playing it with psychic stuff. She's playing Wobbuffet to block ability, she's playing Cresselia, etc. That looked like 2 Manectric and a Shaman. I believe that's correct, as we see the Foxgloves from Susie there. So we're going to see a electric energy going down on the Mewtwo. And we see, oh, she does play a bunch of Muscle Band then, or at least one. And we see a Manectric, and we see a Manectric, and we see a Spirit Link, and we see a Shaman. So we saw in game 1, in round 1, Susie was struggling to set up a little bit. Not the case here. She's going quite nicely. Now, going back to what I said at the beginning, Susie knows that if she wins this game, she is in top cut. Tom knows that if he wins this round, he is in top cut. However, there is a decent chance Tom will cut with a draw. It's looking quite likely. So Tom needs to really stop Susie winning 2 games, whereas Susie needs to win both games. So we see Manectric's overrun attack there, 20 to the active, 20 to one of the benched, but of course the Muscle Band means that it will do 40 to the active and 20 to one of the bench. So Tom's going to be looking to set up the Mewtwo here. Well, that's interesting. Now, he's going to need the Spirit Link and... Okay. So we see an Ultra Ball coming. Now, that's 4 basic Psychic in the discard from Ryan here. I might call him Tom at some point accidentally because we had a Tom playing Mega Mewtwo in the previous round. If that is the case, I do apologise. I did actually play Tom earlier in this tournament. I unfortunately didn't play Susie, and I say unfortunately because if you look back to my previous round, you will notice that I was playing Garchomp. Oh, okay, I'm not sure I particularly agree with Tom's play there. Now, we see that he's got his Hooper prized and another Shaman, maybe his only remaining Shaman. He's ended his turn there and he's left 2 DCEs on the Mewtwo. If there was some way for Susie to get a KO here, that would be very, very bad because Tom would then lose both those DCEs and the Mega Mewtwo. However, we know that that Manectric's second attack does 60 or 120 if your opponent's got a tool attached, and Ryan doesn't have a tool attached, nor can Susie Mega Revolve that active Manectric, at least not without ending her turn. And we see that because she chooses to Mega Revolve the one on the bench. What that all means is that Manectric is currently... Oh, we see an escape rope from Susie. That means that Ryan has to put the Shaman active, and Susie gets to put one of her others active. But of course that Mega Manectric has free retreat, so Susie puts the Mega Manectric into the active and takes advantage of that free retreat. And off she goes. We also see a Giovanni's Scheme, which is not needed for the extra damage here. So is she using it to draw a card? Giovanni's Scheme, remember, you can either draw till you've got 5 cards in hand, or you can increase the amount of damage done by 20. But given that Manectric is doing 80, plus Shaman's weakness does 160, and Shaman only had 90 HP left, I don't think you need to add it up to 100. So... But like I was saying, Susie could only do 80 damage there. That would put Mewtwo on 120, which wouldn't get the KO. So Ryan could feel fairly safe putting that second DCE on the Shaman. Okay. So we see Ryan just uses Psychic Infinity there, and what Psychic Infinity does is 30 damage for each energy attached to each active Pokemon, plus 10 base. So we see 6 energy between the Mewtwo and the Manectric is 6. That's 180. Add the 10 base is 190. And Manectric only has 170 HP. And we talked about the Mega Mewtwo deck in round 4. So I encourage you, if you haven't, go back and watch my Garchomp against Tom's Mega Mewtwo. Just doing it where it does get the KO. And Psychic Infinity is a ludicrously powerful attack. It punishes your opponent for putting more energy on their active Pokemon, not unlike the old school Mewtwo EX from Next Destinies, amongst other sets, or Evil Tally X from X and Y, or I suppose the only Evil Tally X which has currently been released. And like I say, you saw there, 4 energy on the Mewtwo, 190 gets a 1-hit KO. Now, if Susie puts 2 energy on that Mega Manectric, which he's going to need to do an attack, then Tom can go ahead and put 1 more energy on the Mewtwo and actually get a 1-hit KO on Mega Manectric as well. Now, Mega Mewtwo currently has 170 HP, but the problem with Susie's deck is that it relies on picking away at your opponent, using both Manectric and Mega Manectric to pick away. She can then use Wobbuffet's attack, which does 10 damage, plus 10 for each damage counter on the opponent. Or to put it another way, it does 10 more than they already have on them. If they've got 60, it does 70. For a Psychic and a Colourless. So that means that Susie can use Wobbuffet to really take advantage. Now, one thing Susie can do here is she can't attack with Mega Manectric because the attack takes 2 energy. But Ryan has put that Shrine of Memories in play, which he didn't need to do. So Susie can actually use Mega Manectric here, it is an evolved Pokemon after all, to copy Manectric EX's Overrun attack, doing 20 to the active and 20 to the bench. Now, it's not much, and Tom can actually put a 3rd DCE down and get a 1-hit KO on the Mega Manectric, but it is a way that Susie could attack this turn. Because, of course, she put that energy down this turn. Now, if she got a Mega Turbo, she could do 110. Using Mega Turbo, of course. It's like we talked about with Tom. Mega Turbo is an item card that allows you to attach a basic energy from your discard to one of your Mega Evolved Pokemon. So Susie could use, if she's got one in hand, or can get one in hand, she could use that to put another energy on the Mega Manectric, which would then allow her to do the extra damage to Mewtwo. But it'd do it 110, putting Mewtwo on 150. Which would then leave Ryan with an awkward decision. Does he use damage change to try and move the damage from the Mewtwo to the Manectric, but not get a KO? Or does he take the KO using Psychic Infinity on the Mega Manectric, but give up? Oh, and here's an interesting card. I told you we want to show the Breakpoint cards. And doing that, he leaves the damage on and Susie can get a KO the following turn. Susie has gone and gotten a Delinquent. Now, this is one of the new cards from Breakpoint. And did Tom just... Tom, I told you I'd do it. Did Ryan just top deck a Sycamore from an empty hand? It looked... And we can't see Tom's hand very well with this view. He did as well. It looked... Oh, and you can see there, he's got the Mega Turbo. Now, he's going to need 7 energy total, and as long as he's got 1 energy in hand, he's got it. Oh, now this is a risky one. I wouldn't have done... If he hasn't got the KO, I would not have done that. I would have saved that Mega Turbo for when he gets... Oh, okay, now he has got... And that's game at this stage, ladies and gentlemen. That Mega Mewtwo is now doing 220... and getting the 1-hit KO on the Mega Manectric, and there really is very little that Susie can do at this stage. She's not going to take 6 prizes, and if I was Susie, I'd be scooping this game right about now. Because here's the deal, she needs to KO that Mega Mewtwo this turn, but she can't do 170. Now, I mean, I'm just trying to do the maths in my head. Let's say, for argument's sake, the Mega Mewtwo has a tool on, which of course it doesn't. Then Susie can do 120 with Manectric's second attack. Of course, she doesn't have the second energy. But if she did, then she'd be doing 120, plus the Muscle Band is 140, plus Giovanni's Scheme, that the supporter card we've already seen, that adds 20 damage, would do 160, which still wouldn't get the KO. And then, of course, Ryan could just use damage change to move the damage from Mewtwo to the Manectric. Now at this stage, this is a completely superfluous energy attachment with which I do not agree. Now I love that Ryan went and got Shrine of Memories from his discard last turn. I suppose he's got the win this turn. Just take the win. Why are you still playing cards? You can literally just take the win. This is no. Be a nice boy, Ryan. Get the win. You can just say Psychic Infinity and you win the game. You don't need to be playing any more cards. Of course, one could argue that he's taken an extra minute or so to make it less likely that Susie's going to be able to finish 2 games, but it's not the way I like doing it. Should have just said Psychic Infinity and taken the win. Now, one of the things that I really liked from Ryan there, and let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that he had the game all sewn up. But one of the things I really liked from Ryan there was that he took Shrine of Memories from his prizes. Now, we've already talked about the use of Psychic Infinity in this particular deck, but the other element of the deck is using Mewtwo EX to damage change, and that's why you play Shrine of Memories. That is a stadium that allows an evolved Pokemon to use the attacks from its pre-evolution. So you use Mega Mewtwo with the Shrine of Memories down, and then you damage change for 2 Psychic and a Colorless, and you swap damage counters between Mewtwo and the other Pokemon. So let's say, that Manectric EX does 140 to Mewtwo, you can then use damage change to take the 140 off Mewtwo, healing it completely, and putting it onto the Manectric. Now, that's a really, really good trick to use. And what Ryan did there was he went, right, I've got Shrine of Memories out, but I understand how important it is to my deck and my overall goals. So I'm going to take Shrine of Memories from my prizes, so that if Susie goes and replaces a stadium, and we all saw that she did after that, it's all right, because I've got another stadium guaranteed in my hand. I know I've got a Shrine of Memories next turn, regardless. And of course, Susie did replace a stadium, and Ryan did have the Shrine of Memories ready to go. So, I really liked that. It was a nice little heads-up play from Ryan there. So, as I often do between games, I should point out a huge, and no, I don't think I do this too often, quite frankly, I should give a huge thank you to Mad for Miniatures and the proprietor Vinnie Gardner, as I've said in the intro and in all my videos so far, and I mean it very sincerely. They really made it very easy. Not only did they allow me to record, but they set up a little room at the back with a table and extra lighting and stalls. It just went out of their way to allow us to record. And yeah, I know I'm plugging them in every video, rightly so, but he could have easily just said no. And then I don't get to commentate, which I'm sure you figured out by now I quite enjoy doing, and you don't get to see the game. So I'm always incredibly grateful to any TOs, any organisers, any proprietors of establishments where games happen, if they let us record, because it really does make our lives a little bit more enjoyable. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I very much enjoy making these videos. I really do enjoy the commentary. It's one of my favourite things about the game, that and deck building and playing and everything else to do with it. And yeah, I'm hoping you enjoy watching the videos too. So, huge thank you to them. And of course, thank you to Susie and to Ryan for agreeing to be on stream, although I can tell you that Susie was very keen to be on stream as often as possible. Each player has a mulligan there, so nobody draws any extra cards for agreeing to be on stream, although like I say, I did tell you this on previous videos, it was very, very cold at this venue, unavoidably so. Essentially, it's kind of in an old church, or church-like building. So upstairs you've got, it's a big stone building, and there's a big door which is often kind of left open. It's not a building that retains heat very easily. So if you can go into the shop and record in the back room, it is an awful lot warmer. So it looks like Ryan's got a basic. Now, for anyone wondering or new to the game, or who just needs a refresher, the Mulligan rules are that if you do not have a basic Pokemon in your hand, then when you draw your opening 7 cards, you show your opponent your hand, which actually does have the effect of giving your opponent extra information. Because, of course, and this is a little tip for all of you that haven't been playing too long, if your opponent does mulligan, don't just look at their hand to see whether they've got a basic, look at their hand. You might see cards in there like Startling Megaphone or Enhanced Hammer. They might be playing a Manectric deck, but you might see Dark Energy in there. And it gives you information about the kind of deck that they're playing. So you get to draw a new hand of 7, but your opponent gets to draw an extra card if they wish. But remember, the actual rules nowadays are you count all of the mulligans, and then you take them all at once. You do not go ahead and... you don't get to take them one at a time. You count the mulligans, and then you announce how many you're going to take, and you take them all at once. Now, here is an interesting play from Susie. She loses game 1, so she gets a choice. She chooses to go second. Why would she do that? Because she wants to get the first attack. Now, I'm not a fan of this personally, but she gets the first attack here. So, Ryan gets to go first, and even though he's got 2 Sycamore's prize, he still starts with 1. But Susie has got the Wobbuffet in the active. Now, Wobbuffet's ability turns off abilities of all non-psychic Pokemon while it's active. Now, this means 2 things importantly for Ryan here. Firstly, he can use Hooper's ability to search EXs out of his deck, because Hooper's a psychic Pokemon. But he cannot use Shaman's setup ability to draw extra cards. So he's got the Mewtwo, he's got the Spirit Link, and he's got the DCE. Susie, why would she choose to go second? Couple of reasons, really. Maybe she wants to get the Wobbuffet active and slow him down. Maybe she wants the first attack with Manectric. Now, what I think about going against these Mewtwo decks, their first attack is generally fairly pitiful. In terms of turn 1 attacks, the traditional builds, like Ryan appears to be playing, basically have 2 turn 1 attacks. They can use Mewtwo Scattershot with a single Psychic Energy to do 30 damage. Does 30 times the number of Psychic attached to Mewtwo, but you can't Mega Turbo until you Mega Revolve, which you can't do on the first turn. So you can only have 1 Psychic Energy and do 30. Or you can use Sky Return with Shaman for a DCE to also do 30. And they don't tend to play Muscle Band. So, as far as I'm concerned, if my opponent is limited to 30 damage, I'm really not worried so much about them having the first attack. I like to go first so that I can get 2 energy and a Muscle Band on my Manectric. Try and be hitting for 140 on turn 2. So we see Susie playing a Battle Compressor there, and she's getting rid of some supporters, like we see in almost every game nowadays. You discard the supporters, maybe with Sycamore, maybe with Ultra Ball, maybe like Susie's just done with Battle Compressor, and what it does is goes ahead and means that when you draw into a VS Seeker, like Susie's just done off the Trainer's Mail, it means that you get a choice of which supporter to take out of the discard. Now, Susie just did a very nice play there, a kind of thing that people forget. Card ordering and playing cards in the right order is a very subtle skill in Pokemon. And what Susie did there very correctly was played the Battle Compressor before the VS Seeker, before the Trainer's Mail. Why is that the right play? Because you take cards out of the deck that you know you want in the discard. Therefore, there are fewer cards in the deck, so playing a Trainer's Mail is statistically more likely to grab a card that you do want, rather than a card that you don't. So, playing Battle Compressor there lowered her deck size by 3 and increased, only small, but still, increased her chances of hitting what she wanted off the Trainer's Mail. Playing cards in the right order is very important, although you do sometimes get very awkward situations where, for instance, let's say you've got a Trainer's Mail and a Corinna. Ideally, you want to play the Corinna to search a fighting Pokemon and a trainer card out of your deck, and then play the Trainer's Mail. But you have to play the Corinna. Have to play the Trainer's Mail first, because if you hit, let's say in my Garchomp list, if you hit the rare candy off Trainer's Mail, you don't get it from Corinna, but otherwise you do. So then it feels weird, but you have to play the Trainer's Mail first, because what you get off the Trainer's Mail will then affect what you choose to get off the Corinna. So we see an Ultra Ball coming down. We've already got a Manectric on the bench. Susie's going to want to grab possibly a Hooper here. In any EX heavy deck that plays Hooper, generally Ultra Ball for Hooper is an incredibly strong turn 1 play. Susie here could go and get a Mega Manectric, and a Shaman, for instance. Now, one of the downsides of Hooper is, of course, that it takes a space on your bench, and it becomes a Lysander target for your opponent. And in situations, as happens very often indeed, if you go and use a Hooper to grab a Shaman and a couple of other EXs, then you end up using 2 of your bench spaces, 2 of your 5 bench spaces, straight away for EX Pokemon that fill up your bench. Now, another argument, and now maybe the Hooper's prized, we don't know. Susie will know if the Hooper's prized, we don't. Like I often say on these videos, the players in the game have access to far more information than we do. They know what's in their deck and what's prized, or they should. They know what's in their discard. They can look at their opponent's discard, etc. I would dearly love to be able to search through their decks and discards as they played, but that would take a level of technology not yet invented. Now, why did Susie go for the Shaman rather than the Hooper? Maybe the Hooper's prized, and she gets a Spirit Link on the Manectric there, and she gets an Energy. Or maybe she doesn't want to bench the Hooper because she's got enough cards as it is, and she doesn't want to put the Hooper down on the bench. Maybe she has got enough in her hand that just playing a Shaman will be fine. Now, if Ryan's got a Lysander here, this could backfire spectacularly, because a Lysander is going to be able to, well, no, he would need a Mega Turbo Lysander. Oh, and he has got the Lysander, but he's only doing 160 at the moment. He would need a Mega Turbo to get the KO here. Now, another thing that must be pointed out is that Wobbuffet only blocks abilities when it's in the active. So like Tom plays a Lysander there, that will then turn on abilities. Now, he could have taken the KO on the Wobbuffet, and Wobbuffet's weak to Psychic, so that would have done, it would have done 300 damage. Well, sorry, 260 damage. And is she playing a Max Potion there? No. She needs to put the damage back on properly. Was that a Max Potion? Was that an AZ? I'm not entirely sure. Well, that's wrong, because that's 180, and that would be a KO. So Susie put too little, and then Ryan put too much. Now, this is going to, and obviously now we get the Mewtwo, because the Wobbuffet's not in the active. Now, this is going to open up an interesting play here, because this is going to be a hit for 120 for 110, potentially, or 120 for Manectric. And Mewtwo can't then damage change, because if Manectric's got 160 and Mewtwo's got 120, and Mewtwo changes, damage changes, then all of a sudden Mewtwo's got 160 and Manectric's got 120. So damage change doesn't always work. Now, Susie's going for the Mega here, and I see the point, because here's what Susie's going to be able to do. Susie Mega Evolves. Susie does 110 using Mega Manectric's attack. Mewtwo cannot damage change, because, well, it would then have more damage on. So Mewtwo gets a Psychic Infinity KO, and we know that Mewtwo gets a Psychic Infinity KO. But we also know that Mega Manectric's attack attaches 2 basic energy from your discard to one of your bench Pokemon. And Susie can use this to build up the Wobbuffet who for 2 energy would then next turn do, oh my goodness, 240 damage to the Mewtwo. 110 for what's already on him, plus 10 because it does 10 plus another 120 for the weakness. So it would actually do 240, putting it on 350 total. Now we see a battle compressor here. I assume Susie will make sure there's now 3 energy, or at least 2 energy in the discard, including a psychic. And we see the attack for 110. And we're going to see 2 energy going onto the Manectric, onto the Wobbuffet, meaning Wobbuffet can get the KO next turn. And here's the key. First, Ryan has to get a basic down next turn or he loses. Second, Susie gets a KO with a non-EX, meaning that Ryan still has to KO 2 EXs in order to win the game. What we refer to as a 7-prize game. Ryan KOs Manectric for 2 prizes, KOs a Wobbuffet, 3 prizes, and then has to KO 2 more Manectrics, so he doesn't actually win the game until he takes 7 prizes. Which I'm sure you can imagine, from Ryan's point of view, is really gosh darned annoying. So Susie's setting up a good play here. She's giving up the Mega Manectric. She is allowing Ryan to KO the Mega Manectric. But actually, she's setting herself up pretty gosh darn nicely indeed. Oh, I was going to say, I was wondering why she wasn't putting the energy on the Wobbuffet then. Because it's not an optional thing. You have to attach the energy. Now, I don't know why Ryan's attaching an energy there. Okay, he's attaching an energy so that he can draw more with Shaman. Because he's got the KO already, and that Mewtwo's dying. So he'd be far better off saving his energy attachment for the turn, because you only get 1, and attaching it to a new Mewtwo. Let's hope that extra card was worth it, because that energy attachment was the only one he's getting this turn, at least from his hand. We all know Mega Turbo's on the table. And it's not getting him any closer to a KO. Here's the deal. He's already doing 190 damage. Now, Mega Manectric is currently on 160, which means it's got 50 HP left. So he's already doing 100 and some odd more than he needs to do. 150? 140. He's already doing 140 damage more than he needs to. So attaching an extra energy to do 30 more damage really isn't the most prudent of moves. But sometimes you just need to draw with the Shaman. And like here, if he does not want that Mewtwo to be KO'd and him to be left with a Shaman as his only Pokemon. So it might... What's he doing? He can't do that. He's already got a Spirit Link attached. It looks like he's just attached a Floatstone. But he's already got a Spirit Link attached. And you can't do that. That's silly. Now it looks like he's trying to retreat into the Shaman, but there's already a tool attached. And this is just silly. We've seen some silly play in these games. We've already seen the free Golbats, which apparently add up to 50, and the Camerupt that was phantomly attacking without enough damage. And it looks like we've got 2 tools attached. Now, it's unlikely to make much of a difference. And it doesn't. It doesn't look like that's a Floatstone. You can see, you've got a Spirit Link, DCE, DCE, Energy, Floatstone. Now, in reality, it's not going to make much of a difference, but it means that Ryan's got 1 less card in his hand, which means if Susie were to play an Ace Trainer, then there would be 1 less card he doesn't want in his deck. If Ryan were to play a Shaman next turn, there would be 1 less card in his hand, so he'd draw 1 more card. So it's a very silly mistake, and both players really should know better, quite frankly. But remember, and I should point this out, because in Blackpool Regionals, in round 1, we've got 2 and Blackpool Regionals is the next round of tournament videos coming up on this lovely channel. And in round 1, I have picked 2 very high caliber players, 2 players who have already got their world invite sewn up. And we're going to see a huge misplay from 2 world players in round 1 of Blackpool Regionals. So, and we saw, tails on Birch, which means Susie shuffles her hand in to her deck, but because she is a tails, she doesn't draw 7 cards, she draws 4. And I should mention that people are on stream. Now, first of all, there's always a little bit of nerves playing Pokemon. And this is a win and in game, which of course raises the pressure somewhat. And then, you know, you got some random dude recording the game who's then going to be commentating it back. So there is a lot, ladies and gentlemen, of pressure added in here. Now, maybe it's actually worked out quite well adding that energy, because of course I said that energy attachment was superfluous on the following turn, but that might not actually be true. Because now that the Mewtwo has been KO'd, or the Mega Mewtwo I should say, that psychic energy is now in the discard pile. Which means that Ryan will be able to play a Mega Turbo, and maybe that extra energy in the discard is going to be the difference between Ryan being able to play a Mega Turbo, not this turn but next turn, or not. Now we did see the Wobbuffet KO the Mewtwo, and now Ryan's in an awkward position. He can't Psychic Infinity this turn. He is having to essentially let Susie just have a free hit on the Shaman. Or I suppose he could attach a DCE to Shaman, Sky Return, and then put the Mewtwo active. Because Susie's not KOing the Mewtwo next turn. Or even the Shaman. Susie's not KOing anything next turn. Her deck, like I've said, her deck really is a case of let's pick away. You know, the maximum damage she's ever doing is 140. But she picks away and she 2-hit KOs on the Manectric, and then she can do tricks like she did last turn. She can bring the Wobbuffet up to take a KO. And all of these things, they're just little things that really help her deck to do what it's supposed to do, to pick away, to, I suppose, start doing some damage. It's what's good for you. Oh, do forgive the brief silences. It's where I'm drinking water to desperately try and preserve what little is left of my voice. I've had a lot of people asking me, hey Ross, can I have the Garchomp list you used in the previous round? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. And tomorrow I'm going to be recording a full deck list, deck analysis, whatever you want to call it, with that list. So quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I need to preserve my voice for that. So we have 2 Mewtwo down there. We had a Spirit Link on one. It looked like he put one on the other and then changed his mind. Not entirely sure why. According to a recent survey, Spirit Links are good. It might be so that he could Ultra Ball it. Now we do see a Hooper come down. He grabs a Shaman, which can draw him some more cards. He gets the Mega ready for next turn, and that's about right. That's about all he can do this turn. And then essentially he's just going to have to wait. Now he does pass over to Susie, it looks like, with the Shaman in the active. Now, the interesting thing is now he's going to have to get that Shaman out of the active, or just have a turn where he Sky Returns. Now, obviously, it would be ideal if he could have attached a DCE and used setup, but clearly that's not something he was able to do. So Susie plays a Trainer's Mail, and she looks at the top 4 cards of her deck, and she gets to pick an item not called Trainer's Mail. Is that an Enhanced Hammer? I believe it is, which just goes to further prove. Now, we got away with it, but in the previous game, we saw Ryan attaching DCEs when he didn't really need to. And of course, that is potentially a very silly thing to do. Because if you attach a DCE when you can't attack, i.e. on the first turn of the game, and then your opponent goes and drops an Enhanced Hammer, you've just wasted a DCE, and you've only got 4 of them in your deck. By the way, can we just take a second to point out how beautiful that VS Seeker is? It's a thing of beauty. The reverse holo one from many years ago. Now, obviously Ryan got away with it, because here's the thing. I'm sitting here going, well, you know, attaching the DCE would have been, you know, could have been silly because Susie could have discarded it. Well, Susie didn't discard it. And not only that, and she gets a Sycamore back, not only that, But Susie was then unable to get rid of it. And then it put Ryan in a position where he was then able to, have so much energy that he could take quick KOs. Had he not attached that DCE, then there would be turns where he wasn't able to get KOs that, in the real game he did. Now, Susie plays a Sycamore, so I wonder if she took that Enhanced Hammer off of the, whether she took the Enhanced Hammer off of the Trainer's Mail and then just discarded it. Maybe I saw that wrong. But of course, she wants that Enhanced Hammer because we've seen Ryan really relies upon DCE here. Okay, Susie willing to give up the energy to retreat the Wobbuffet so that she can start doing some damage with the Manectric. And this isn't a bad plan. Because, of course, we know that as soon as Susie Mega Evolves, she can just use Mega Manectric's attack to put that damage, the energy back onto the Wobbuffet. And what Susie's doing here is basically saying, look, I know that you don't play that many float stones. So I know that you're going to struggle to get this Shaman out of the active and be attacking with a Mewtwo. So I think I can spare a turn using Overrun, doing a little bit of damage, and picking away. And I don't think, and we do see a Mega Turbo there, so like I say, maybe that extra energy attachment was worth it. And Susie here, this is a real heads-up play from her. Just basically saying, look, I could pick away and do, 10 damage with Wobbuffet, but I would much rather start using Overrun, and now I'm really putting you under pressure to get that Shaman out of the active, or I'm taking a cheeky couple of prizes. Now, what that also means is we saw the silly floatstone attachment from Ryan when he wasn't allowed to attach at all. There is no Fated Double ancient trait on Mewtwo. Something like Entei that has Fated Double can have 2 tools attached, but Mega Mewtwo can't. And had he not attached that floatstone earlier, maybe he has a floatstone to attach this turn. Now, here's the deal. Ryan can attach that DCE. Oh, was that a Trainer's Mail? That was a Trainer's Mail, so he didn't get the DCE. Now, Ryan, he used Mega Turbo to put the energy onto the Mewtwo. So he can use an energy attachment this turn. But if he puts the DCE on Shaman, he can then set up for a whopping 30 damage. And he'll heal the Shaman, and he'll take the Shaman off the board, taking 2 easy prizes away from Susie. Because anytime a Shaman's on the bench, Susie can just Lysander and kill it very easily. But it means he's not getting a big attack this turn. It means that he's not... And it, of course, means he's got to leave the Mewtwo in the active, ready for Susie to go and have a big hit with the Manectric. So we see the DCE coming down. Is he going to use Setup, a Sky Return, or is he just going to retreat to the Mewtwo? He is. So, it's about the best play he could do under the circumstances, but now he's got to put something active, not the Shaman. Now, the ideal situation here is he puts the Hooper into the active, he lets Susie have a free hit on the Hooper, and then he AZs the Hooper to heal it completely and nullify Susie's attack. If he puts that Shaman in the active, it's gonna get KO'd. Susie is just going to attach an energy and take 2 easy prizes. So it's not something I would recommend. And again, putting the Mega Mewtwo in the active means Susie gets a free hit on that Mega Mewtwo. Now, she's not going to get the KO. She'd need to do 190. And as previously discussed, 190 is not something she is going to be able to do very easily at all here. But, and this is a very awkward decision from Ryan here. He's put the Shaman in the active and Susie's going, yay, I get 2 more prizes. Now, maybe it works out. Maybe Susie takes 2 prizes here, and then Ryan rips off a Psychic Infinity to KO the Manectric, and Susie doesn't have another attacker. So Susie here, and this is exactly what I was going to say, she wants the Mega Evolution. And then she wants to use Rough Seas, because Rough Seas heals first. Oh, and she's got the second energy. This is beautiful. So now she can attack and then put 2 energy on the bench Manectric. And that means that Ryan is not going to be able to take away her only attacker. So Susie here is going to take 2 prizes, go down to 2 prizes remaining, and put 2 energy either on the Wobbuffet or on the Manectric, depending on what she chooses. She is going to want to remember to use that Rough Seas, though. Rough Seas being a stadium that allows either player to heal 30 damage from each of their lightning or water Pokemon on their turn. And that is something that I would very much recommend doing, given that Susie can just take that 30 damage off the Mega Manectric, and there is literally no downside to doing so. But she's forgotten. And that is a little bit silly, because it's an extra benefit. Now, if I was Susie, I would be tempted to put the energy on the Manectric in the hope of getting another Mega, but maybe she doesn't have another Mega. We've already seen, one Mega there. Maybe Susie doesn't have another Mega to go here. But if she does, I would have liked to have seen the energy attachment onto the Manectric, because well, this is only 160. He's going to need another energy. Now, here's the annoying thing. Had Susie used Rough Seas, he would need another 2 energy. So essentially, missing the Rough Seas means that Susie now has to, means that Ryan now needs 1 less energy to get the KO. And that could make a big, big difference as this game goes on. It could be the difference between Ryan getting a KO and Ryan not getting a KO. So, we see an ace trainer here. Here's an interesting play. Now, one of the things I was going to say a moment ago, I never really got a chance, was that in Expanded, the other format we have, where sets black and white onwards are legal rather than X and Y onwards in Standard, where we're playing now, one of the things about Expanded is that sometimes your opponent takes a big lead. You play an N, the card where both players shuffle their hand into their deck and draw a number of cards equal to their remaining prizes, and then your opponent has very few cards, draws a little bit dead, and you can make a big comeback. That's not really an option in Standard until the next set comes out, when we're getting a bloomin' reprint, which I'm not happy about, just so we're clear. More on that on this week's podcast. I think episode 186. It's coming out tomorrow, actually. And one of the things is that it's less easy to do that. Well, we see that from Ryan here. He's playing an ace trainer, which you can only play if you've got more prizes remaining than your opponent. You shuffle your hand in and draw 6 cards. Your opponent shuffles their hand in and draws 3. Oh, that's me. That's me putting my ID this round. So that's time has been called, ladies and gentlemen. So one of 2 things is going to happen. Susie is going to take an extra 2 prizes, win the game, and the round will be a tie, which will probably knock Susie out of cut, but will put Ryan in, probably. Or Ryan is going to take all 4 prizes, which isn't going to happen. Or nobody's going to take the remaining prizes, and as Ryan won game 1 and nobody won game 2, then game 2 never happened. Game 1's the only one that happened, and Ryan wins the match. So Susie's got 2 turns here. Ryan, his focus needs to be on... Now, I believe that was turn 0 with Ryan, so that means Susie is turn 1. What Susie wants to do is she's not going to get the KO. Half kill the Mewtwo so that you can then kill it with Wobbuffet. But what she's also going to want to do is try and put energy onto that Cresselia. Now, Cresselia for free energy does 70 damage. So here's what Susie needs to do. She uses Mega Manectric's attack to do 110 to the active Mewtwo, putting it on 130, meaning it can be KO'd by Wobbuffet. In doing so, she attaches 2 energy to Cresselia. And she's not getting the win this turn, but next turn she has 2 win conditions. Either the Mega Mewtwo remains in the active with the damage on, and Susie kills it with Wobbuffet. Or Susie gets a Muscle Band and a Lysander, and she pulls either the Mewtwo or the Hooper active, and their 180 HP or less, combined with their Psychic weakness, means they get one-hit KO'd by Cresselia. Now, when I was watching this game, I was very, very skeptical as to why Susie would choose to put the Muscle Band and the energy on the Manectric. The answer is she knows that she can win. She knows she's got energy and Muscle Band enough to get the KO. So here we see a scatter shot for the KO, which is pretty darn funky. And Susie needs a Muscle Band and an energy, and she's got the win by KOing the Mewtwo. What Ryan needed to do that turn was heal the Mewtwo. And he did, very well indeed. But Susie knows she's got the win here. Now, under normal circumstances, putting the energy and the muscle, and there is the Muscle Band, and there is the energy. Susie gets the win of this game. It is a draw overall, and I will tell you that Susie ended up 9th, and Ryan made top cut. Congratulations to both players. Now, under normal circumstances, Susie's play would have been very risky because she needed the free energy Muscle Band on Cresselia, and she put the energy Muscle Band onto Manectric. Why was it not risky for Susie? Because Ryan had to get the AZ to heal the Mewtwo. Now, he could have used an AZ to try and screw up Susie's plan so she wasn't guaranteed to hit the Muscle Band and the energy. But either Ryan AZs and Susie knows that she's got Shaman, etc. in hand, she's guaranteed to hit the energy Muscle Band for the win. Or Ryan doesn't AZ and he ace trainers and Susie just gets a KO with Wobbuffet. Another example, ladies and gentlemen, of where the players have more knowledge than we do, so a play that looks incorrect is actually correct. Thank you very much to both players, to Mad for Miniatures and to Vinnie Gardner. I hope you enjoyed this game, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give you tomorrow my Garchomp deck analysis, and you can see the list that I used at this tournament, I believe to great effect. And then we've got a top 8 and a top 4 game from this tournament. And then we've also got 7 rounds from Blackpool Regionals and a video about EX Delta species, a very old school video. Ladies and gentlemen, we've also got a guest coming on a couple of those videos. It's going to be wunderbar. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like. You've had like 50 minutes to click the like button. If you haven't done it by now, why haven't you done it? Why do you hate me, etc. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you have subscribed to this channel, and if you haven't, click the subscribe. If you have, find someone else to click it. Thank you very much for watching, and look after yourselves till next time. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.